if we can blind them, if we can take out their radar sites, they can shoot all the missiles they want. Their accuracy is going to be so impeded that sure,
Or even
it may still be a
what is
threat,
like
but it will
simply
no longer be a
when
threat.
we say the attacks aren't working, are they blowing up missile and radar sites?
Yeah,
As far as I know, yes.
So how are they not working?
Well, what I mean is the Houthis are still attacking trading vessels.
Sure,
Or
but just
attempting
because
at
you
least.
haven't like achieved 100% mission success and all of their capabilities are destroyed doesn't mean it's not working. Right?
So this kind of argument from absolutes is exactly the kind of argument that Destiny would call out if somebody else used it. Nobody said anything about achieving 100% results. This is something that came out of Destiny's mouth. He's the one that introduced this concept of absolute. Unfortunately, though, Destiny is doing a very horrible debate performance here. However, unfortunately, the people he's debating are no match for him. I mean, they allow him to say so much nonsense, and it's bad. It's if this was the war that's happening right now, Destiny is basically Israel, and the two people debating him, they're Gaza. It's just like it ain't really a war. This is not a fair matchup at all whatsoever. But again, who said anything about absolutes? The key detail is, has there been a reduction in the amount of attacks on ships? Destiny doesn't seem to be curious about this, and neither do his opponents for some reason. It's just an absolute shit show.
Right, they could be attacking more, but I assume we're blowing stuff up that needs to be blown up, so it's working. It just takes some time. You don't blow all of
According
it
to
up
the
and
DOJ, we've degraded 30% of their missile capacity has been degraded or destroyed. So
Like, so
as of
to,
2030.
I guess, my view is sort of like, I'm against civilians dying. So if 30% of their capacity has been removed from the current strikes, which have killed no civilians, I happen to think that if we want to reach 100%, it's going to be very difficult to do that without killing some innocent people, right? That's just my view.
Okay.
So
There's a mind virus that's going around in regards to discussions about what's happening in Israel with the whole conflict. Thankfully, apparently, I have tested negative. I am not affected by this virus. My logic and reasoning about this is consistent with what my subscribers know, throughout time. I have not deviated. I'm thinking in the same way. I'm using the same logic. But there's many people across the spectrum that are it's really, really bizarre. You see people saying stuff and you're just like, do you really mean what you're saying? Like, it's like, are you being paid off by Israel? I mean, now on the other side, you do see nonsense as well, but there it's more understandable. For example, a lot of people talking about ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. That's easy. I understand that, right? That is tribalism, right? Your tribe is saying ceasefire, so without thought, you just jump on and repeat whatever your side is saying. Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. I guarantee you an overwhelming majority of people that are saying ceasefire have not thought about what a ceasefire actually means, right? Now, I would love a ceasefire. I would love them to all this slaughter to stop, but I I am an independent thinker, so I cannot just jump on board with the ceasefire sort of talk because I actually think about things, and when I think about what a ceasefire means, it's just not that simple. It's not that black and white. Ceasefire to what end? Obviously, to stop the slaughter of the civilians, but you still end up with the reality of Hamas regrouping and eventually striking again, and it goes both ways. Israel, continue to do what they've been doing to the people in Gaza, but also Hamas. So it's like basically returning back to status quo. Now, even that is questionable because how can you return to status quo after the devastation of the Gaza Strip, right? Obviously, some things have to change based on what's been going on before and what's going to happen in the future. But simply saying ceasefire, again, that's a tribal chant, right? My instincts, if you were to ask me, what I would want immediately is an immediate and drastic change in the tactics that Israel is using. Massively constrain the tactics that they're utilizing and make sure that they are conducting themselves in alignment with international rules. That is what I think the independent thinker would think, who actually looks at this, right? But the typical tribalist, my tribe is saying ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. So that makes sense. I get that. I get a lot of rhetoric. I get people saying, the Houthis are cool, or that all is an easy answer to that. But when I look at, the Israel defenders, holy shit, because they're not like following a tribe. You have people that deviate. I mean, here's Destiny, who makes some good arguments, exposing the January 6th nonsense, to the right. He has made a lot of good debates and a lot of good points about a lot of different issues. He's very, very smart, very, very intelligent. And all of a sudden, he just starts saying some ridiculous things in regards to Israel. And he's not the only one. Again, it's like a mind virus. People just, somehow their brains aren't functioning properly when discussing this topic. I mean, you see people saying stuff, and it's almost like you look at them and you're like, I have frogs in my house, and they keep telling me things, and I don't want them to tell me things. And you're just like, is this guy nuts? Like, it's not even a matter of disagreement. It's like, well, I think it's actually cats and not frogs. No, it's like, dude, you sound like a lunatic. Like, that is what you hear from some of these Israel defenders. And they're just saying with a straight face, no, Israel is the greatest nation in the world. And just like, bro, who's paying you off to say these things? So, with that being said, let's talk about this specific case. So, Destiny, very smart guy, does great debates in my opinion, usually. But listen to what he's saying. He questions whether the attacks are working. Now, remember, the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden himself, has already admitted that they're not working. Think about that for a second. And this is the crazy thing when you see propaganda, is when you have the propagandists making excuses for the cults of personality that they serve, right? So if I'm like a scam artist and I do a scam, there's, apologists that will come up with excuses for me. I don't even come up with excuses. They'll say stuff I didn't even say. People say it's suspicious that, half of the stuff he shipped out ended up being empty boxes, right? And I'm the scammer, I don't say nothing. My defenders will go out there and say, well, sometimes what happens is, they make accidents with the shipment records, and maybe he thought like a whole explanation, right? Stuff that I didn't even say. I'm the one being accused. I didn't say none of that stuff. They come up with excuses for me. This is what happens when you with scammers, propagandists. It's insane. Cult of personality. So, Joe Biden himself admitted that it's not working, and he said he's going to continue to do it anyway, right? That's what Joe Biden said, right? Joe Biden, commander-in-chief. Destiny is just some dude on the internet making YouTube videos, right? No disrespect. That's what it is. It is what it is, right? If the commander-in-chief says it ain't working, then I think it ain't working. So why on earth, think about it, why on earth does Mr. Destiny need to come up with an excuse or try to pretend like, well, maybe it is working. How do you know it's not working? What? Let's dive deeper. Or if we want to be like these YouTubers who like to talk about mainstream media, mainstream media, and then they just copy them. Like their whole business model is just copying what mainstream media does do to the extreme. Case in point, let's unpack. Do we have a lot to unpack? You literally copying the actual wording of mainstream media who you demonize and they're incompetent. But yet, why are you trying? What's it? Impersonation is the best form of flattery. Anyway, let's unpack. So Destiny questions whether the attacks are working or not. Well, he's questioning the claims that the attacks are not working, and then he makes a very uncharacteristically juvenile sort of argument that they are working. And the argument, it goes like this: are they blowing stuff up? Yeah. Then how is it not working? What? Since when is a successful military campaign the sort of the success line is whether you blow stuff up or not? So as long as I'm blowing stuff up, it's working. What? So I have an army of 100, and I'm fighting against an army of 100,000, and I've been bombing the enemy for 6 months, and so far I have destroyed 3 of their vehicles or whatever. Is my campaign working? My military campaign isn't working. I got 100 troops up against 100,000, and I destroyed 3 or 4. I mean, I'm blowing stuff up. How is it not working? I'm trying to blow stuff up. Stuff's blowing up. Like, bro. I guess I'm the military guy, so I gotta explain how war works. The goal, typically, when you're attacking your enemy, is not to blow stuff up. In fact, you might want to not blow anything up at all. I mean, ideally, if we could win a war without even firing a single bullet, that would be great. Every bullet we fire, every missile we fire has a cost associated and risks associated. If we could have such a badass military that, just the terror of a potential attack by us makes our enemies, do what we want them to do, that would be a best case scenario. So, believe it or not, as a military, we don't really want to blow stuff up, right? Blowing stuff up is just ends up being the method that is most effective based on so many different criteria. And it's not always, we don't always have to blow stuff up, by the way, either. But typically, a lot of times we end up blowing stuff up. But even when we blow stuff up, that's not the goal, man. That is not the goal. Because, for example, if we could fire a missile at an enemy And then while the missile is in the air, the enemy just gives up. They say, okay, we give up, please don't hurt us. And we could just like cancel the missile and just, have it self-destruct. That would be great. I mean, well, we did lose a missile, but I mean, we avoid the conflict and the expense of the conflict. Like, okay, we resolved it by just firing a single missile, right? And we didn't have to worry about civilian casualties or anything like that. That'd be perfect. So when we're blowing stuff up, ideally, there is a military objective that is beyond the blowing stuff up. The blowing stuff up is just the path to the ultimate goal, right? So, for example, if we're trying to send a message of like, you better stop what you're doing, otherwise you're in trouble. So the reason why we blow stuff up in that case would just be to send that message. So we would just need to blow enough up to shake up the enemy to where they're like, oh man, this is crazy, and make them rethink their plans or their ways, and be like, you know what, maybe we should stop doing what we're doing, right? That's the goal. Right. So if blowing, let's say, for example, let's say the enemy thought they thought that we would not do anything. We're just talking. Right. In that case, us blowing up even one thing could be a success, because when they see us blow up just one of their tanks, they're like, oh, shoot, they serious. And that can make them back up. And then so the objective was not to blow up the tank. The objective was the outcome. So success means achieving the outcome, right? The outcome generally is not to destroy the enemy's weapons, right? I mean, again, it depends, right? Like in this scenario, if they're blowing up like their radar equipment, then the goal would be, to take away that capacity, which constrains them from what they're doing, right? But ultimately, again, the point is that generally when we blow stuff up, it's not just about blowing stuff up, it's about the outcome, right? So simply, successfully blowing stuff up, that's not evidence that we've succeeded at what we're trying to do, or what we're doing is working, right? So let's examine what's happening here. So they're attacking the ships. So I would assume that the military's goals here is to stop them from attacking ships, right? That's the goal, right? Not to blow stuff up, but to stop them from attacking ships. So actually, there's a dual goal if you're attacking like the radar systems. It's like, okay, we're constraining their ability to. So if they choose to, they can't, because we're taking away this capability. But also, you're also sending a message as well. So it's a dual purpose. You're sending a message of like, listen, you guys better stop, otherwise it's gonna be a problem. You don't want this, right? We're greatest military in the world, blah blah. We will wipe you off the face of the earth. Like, so we're trying to. I would assume, I ain't the general, right? I assume we're trying to scare them in terms of like, yo, you better stop, and we're also trying to constrain their abilities. Okay. So that being the case, and even though I'm ex-military, listen, I wasn't in infantry like combat. That's not my thing, right? So I'm not using any special military knowledge here. This is just basic logic and analysis, right? So success would mean, right, one, their ability to attack is significantly compromised, right? And if that's the case, we would see that we would be able to confirm that through a reduction in attacks, right? Or a reduction in the accuracy of the attacks, right? If we're destroying equipment to constrain their abilities, then we should see evidence of their ability being constrained. Right? So for Destiny to simply question, oh, how do you know it's not working? Are we blowing stuff up? That's a juvenile level of thought process there. But then for him not to ask a simple question, right? Because he's challenging, these guys are saying that the attacks aren't even working, right? So Destiny's rebuttal should question that fact. So first of all, to question it, he would have to consider, what does working mean? Working would mean constraining their attacks, so attacks going down. So if they're the ones saying that the attacks aren't working, then I would expect Destiny to challenge them to prove to him that the attacks have been constrained. So an obvious response to them would be, what do you mean the attacks aren't working? Are you saying that there hasn't been a reduction in attacks from the Houthis since we've attacked them? Right? I mean, if someone's saying it's not working, right, and working would mean the metric that would determine whether it's working or not, if that metric is a reduction in attacks from the Houthis, why not ask the person to basically, are you saying that their attacks have not been reduced? Right? They may not know whether they're reduced or not, but that would be the obvious rebuttal. But instead, you get this juvenile response of like, oh, they're trying to blow stuff up. Is stuff blowing up? Okay, how is it not working? Because the goal is not to blow stuff up. The goal is to stop them from attacking ships. So unless you can show that they are not attacking ships, or they're significantly reduced in attacking ships, then yeah, it's not working. So says Joe Biden himself, the commander-in-chief. And just because we are so tribal-brained in this country, someone who listens to this video would automatically think, hey man, I'm defending the Houthis, or I'm on this side. I ain't on no side, man. I'm on the side of truth. That's just a lie. I'm on the side of truth, right? So I'm not in any way making a position that the Houthis are good or they're bad. I'm not fence I'm not fence riding, trying to like do like a Tim Pool. I'm not even going there, right? This entire video is focused on pointing out the illogical arguments that someone who's very logical and very smart is making when discussing this topic, right? So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Houthis or Israel, what Israel is doing, and Hamas, this and that. This video ain't nothing about none of that stuff. This video is about why is Destiny behaving in such a strange manner when discussing this topic? And why is this not a unique thing? Why are so many players in right-wing media and left-wing media behaving in such a bizarre manner? I mean, there's so many things that have happened in this country, and people have different opinions. I mean, you even have people that will deviate from their side. That's not strange. But what I'm seeing with Israel is strange, right? The people who deviate, they're deviating in such a bizarre way. It's kind of betraying their intelligence, it's betraying their abilities. They're saying stuff that sounds so absurd, and it's like I don't know, like the frog analogy. Like the guy, yeah, I got frogs in my house, and every morning they get up, the frogs are telling me this, and you're just like, what is happening? Am I high, or is this person high? Like, this don't make any sense. This got to be a simulation, right? Something is strange in the neighborhood, and I don't know who to call. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Comment below. This is a Baby Channel. Baby in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. I got a kitty in my walls. I gotta go. He's gonna die soon if I don't get him out. So I'm trying to figure that out. I put a mic up there trying to record any sounds. I got traps, all over the house. Humane traps. 360 camera in the walls looking for him. It's 4 days, no food or water. It's not good. Anyway.